Okay. So yeah, you can look at the link, but so
I can't hear
no.
you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Mm. So today, we are recording now. So
Okay, great.
they will join later. Maybe doesn't matter. So you need to leave early. So you only have 1 hour. Maybe you can talk more about this topic.
Sujit is coming?
Who?
Sujit.
Yeah, someone is trying to enter. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Via is here. So yeah,
Okay, good.
we can start now.
Yeah.
So maybe I can share my screen, but you can chime in.
Yes.
Let me see how to share that. Oh, okay. So yeah, you can see it now.
Yes.
Maybe I make it bigger, a bit bigger, so you can see the text more clearly. And then yeah, okay. So let me be a bit faster. So now the first thing is that millions of years ago, the Indian continent, the tectonic plate crashes into the mainland and created the Himalaya mountains. And so this is related to the geographic determinism that I talked about before. And so about Jared Diamond's book, Guns, Germs, and Steel. But so maybe if I have time, I'll talk about that more. But so this created the situation that China is geographically isolated from the other parts of Eurasia. I mean the other parts of Eurasia. So more importantly, from Europe. So the Europeans cannot reach China more easily, but they reached India. So that, for example, the British Empire colonized India basically completely, but China was spared from that fate. Uh, okay. So, and then we quickly move on to this. Now, so at the end of the Qing dynasty, which is the last dynasty of China, we have some rebellions, but this pattern is also very repetitive. Every dynasty in ancient China, when they decline, they will enter a very corrupt and decadent period, and then these riots will happen, and then the warlords will try to fight for the dominance of the new dynasty. So one of these is the top one is called the heavenly kingdom, and these people are Christian because there were Christian missionaries from Europe, uh, and they learned Christianity, and then some leader they claim to be I mean he claimed to be Jesus' younger brother and started this cult. But what I want to say is that they are pretty backwards, and this is a point I repeatedly stress is the idea of backwardness. For example, this is 1850s, so it's the same time as the so this is the same time as the American Civil War. So that is the same time as Abraham Lincoln and Robert E. Lee and those kind of people. They are fighting for the abolishment of slavery in America. And then in China, we have these type of things. And you cannot tell from the photo, but these people are generally not highly educated. And that's the point I want to stress. So you can compare them with people fighting in the American Civil War in the 1850s, and you may feel that the level of education or of the general knowledge, the level of knowledge in these people are different. And but the well, you may not agree with this, but this is my one of the major ideas I want to stress. And you also look at the second picture. So the guy may look cool, but he believed that they were invulnerable to knives and bullets, and that, of course, is not a good thing in battle. So let's move fast. So these two examples I want to stress are some examples of backwardness. And now, so this is the last one of the last rulers of the Qing dynasty, and she's called the Empress Dowager. I don't know why she's called Dowager, but anyway, I don't care much about her. And you can see that her fingernails and her shoes, her feet is like bound in a very small. I mean, to is uh, a deformed, very very small.
That's food
So
binding culture, na? That's a food binding culture.
yeah, right, exactly. And so she cannot move very far, even I mean to the next building. She requires someone to carry her in the carriage or something. So, but and obviously you see that this type of practice completely died out in modern China, and this is a thing that I feel good about because you know that there are backward things that get eliminated by time, and that's a good thing. So and you can see she cannot play tennis, she cannot ride a bicycle, and uh, and maybe that's why she wanted to kill people, you know. Um, and so history, I mean, the historians are not very kind to her so far. Even if you some revisionist historians, they cannot make her look really good. So it's widely believed that she poisoned the second guy, the emperor, and beside him is his wife. Um, so they wanted. I mean, the emperor is also a very tragic figure because towards the end of the dynasties, usually they have these powerless emperors, and they become like the pawns manipulated by the power struggle, things like that. Um, so um, this emperor with some reformers, they wanted to modernize China, and they were given a chance, but because there were so many complexities, so the reforms failed, and then they a bunch of reformers they plotted to free the emperor because the emperor is under house arrest and he could not carry out the reforms, and but the plot was betrayed by this general. You see the lower picture. So this general is called Yuan, and you can see he likes wearing funny clothes, and but he is a really bad person, I think. So the reformists they divulged the plot to this general, and then but he betrayed the plot to the empress, and then that led to the execution of some martyrs of the reform, and and so but I mean these two reformers they escaped to somewhere, and so so then came the time of this reformer also, his doctor's son. Maybe you have heard of him before. So he's the father of modern China.
That's interesting that Sun Yat-sen is the contemporary of Lenin. I didn't know this.
Uh, you didn't know, yeah, but this is also important because
Yeah.
in 1910, China, the last dynasty of China ended by the
Okay.
revolution. But he is not the main actor in that revolution, but he is the most famous. But the others, many also sacrificed in that revolution. But I also want to point out that the chaos that ensued after the revolution, so there was civil war and all that stuff, is even more bloodier than the revolution itself, under my impression. And that happened in 1910, and it's important to note that the Russian Revolution of 1917 is just 7 years later than China. So in that revolution, the Tsarist regime of Russia was ended in February. And then in December, there was the Bolshevik Revolution also in Russia. So there was a year with two revolutions, and so you can see there is some kind of parallel between China and Russia. So one had ended the Qing dynasty, the other ended the Tsarist regime, quite similar, and they also died around the same time. And so this guy, I mean, he also one of the reformists, and he was the first elected president of China, but he was also assassinated by this general because now the Qing dynasty ended, but this general Yuan was still thinking to like he thought he could be the emperor, the next emperor. He wanted to revive the dynastic system. But so now, when we looking back, we know that his idea is out of touch with the reality. He didn't see the writing on the wall, but but that was what he was thinking. And and also interestingly, he lived in the north, but the other reformists like these guys they tend to be from the southern areas of China, and they are closer to the coastal areas where some Western ideas more easily spread to China. So he was assassinated, and but at the time in the second photo he was already dead. But at the time, he did not know who shot him. But he said that he wanted to meet with the General Yuan to talk about the matters of establishing the parliament, the parliamentary system of China, and and he said that because he suspected the general has ordered his assassination, and 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 crucially, I mean, after the assassination, he tried he claimed himself as emperor. So it's so you see, I mean, they were negotiating about the parliamentary system, but in the end, he claimed to be emperor. So the thing that he said on his deathbed is actually uh, it's like an accusation of like who killed him. Do you know what I'm saying? So he he deliberately said his last words about the parliamentary system to like an accusation, and the deeds of the general later confirmed his intention. So so he was assassinated, and but also Dr. Sun uh, also tried to negotiate with Yuan. So he came to Beijing to negotiate with him, and in that uh, during that time he also died of liver cancer. He died in a hospital, but now I suspect that he also got poisoned by Yuan because the liver cancer didn't doesn't develop so fast, but he died really fast after just after he arrived in Beijing. to meet this general. So and interestingly, the Dr. Sun's liver is now in the hands of some Japanese guy. He took his liver somewhere, so it was somewhere in Japan now. So and they may be able to check if he was poisoned or not. So these are examples of the conservatives trying to stop the modernization of China, and they use assassinations and poisonings to and all sorts of methods to try to stop it. And that's very sad. Uh, Dr. Sun is one of the people I admire very much, but it is sad that I mean his revolution didn't succeed, and this civil war is even continues to this day. So now this is a civil war, and I have a link to the video. Maybe I can click it. Let me see. Yeah. So uh, yeah. So you can see the the progress of the Chinese Civil War in this video, and it can be very exciting if you watch it with the music. I mean, I'm skipping it fast here, but you can see that the territories they change like really chaotic, and especially if you know the people involved, it is very uh, fascinating to watch. And but um, okay, now so I want to say that this is a very chaotic time, but um, it's also very fascinating to watch these events. But you may not want to live in this time, and also they are fascinating because of the brutality of all these warlords, and it shows that I mean it's interesting precisely because the 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 people I mean the people involved are still pre-modern, so they act out their very primitive motives. So they kill each other, they betray or form alliances with each other, all sorts of treachery, and but you need to bear in mind that I mean I want to point out that they are not so modernist, and there are some people who just think they can become the next emperor, but there are other reformists like Dr. Sun and very few others. They wanted to change the system to a democratic one. So, so that there seems to be two kinds of logic at work in this period. The first logic is the dynastic uh, is the old traditional logic where whoever is the winner will become the next emperor. But there's the new logic is the one of the establishment of modern China with democracy and things like that, and is so it is it is a it's a complicated period because of these two logics operating at the same time. Um, so So that this is Dr. Sun, and the guy standing behind him is will be the general who later become the ruler of Taiwan. And so that's him and Chairman Mao. So now, so that was the warlords period following the fall of the Qing dynasty, and that war was interrupted by the Japanese invasion of China, which is in World War II. And that war also was very brutal and killed a lot of people in China and also Japanese. And then after the Japanese lost the war because of the atomic bomb, but the atomic bomb was ordered by President Truman. You can see it below. And so the war ended. And then these two guys, Mao and Chen, they resumed the Chinese Civil War. So that Civil War went on for a long time because of the Japanese invasion. But in a sense, the war is still going on even now because we have communist China and Taiwan. So we are still living in this state. And so and during the Civil War in China, the guy Chen, the nationalists was winning at first. They almost eliminated the communists, but so it was Truman and the guy next to him called John Stewart. He was the ambassador to China at that time. The United States wanted China to be split into two instead of, fully democratic. And this is very important in the Chinese history because the U.S. decided the fate of China to become, half communist and half democratic. And because the U.S. withdraw the military support to Chiang, then Chairman Mao and the Communist Army, the Red Army, was able to reconquer a lot of land, so much so that almost the entire China became communist. And so you could say that the United States actually decided the whole fate of China. And it established the pattern of many Cold War countries. I mean, for example, in uh, uh, sorry, I mean in Korea, in Vietnam, and other places, right? So this the pattern of the Cold War pattern will repeat again and again in not only in Asia but also in Africa and in Latin America. Uh, Even I mean the almost the whole world and also in uh, I mean Eastern Europe. Uh, so uh, this brings us to the Cold War period, and but um, and we are still living in this period. But I don't want to talk like use all the time. So, Tamanna, do you want to say something about these stories? I mean, what I said before.
Yeah, that was really nice. I mean, very interesting way you spoke about it. But as far as Cold War is concerned, I guess there were two blocks which were after 1919 Russian Revolution and the Chinese Revolution, which was like brought about around the same time. Um between Russia and the US and the European bloc. But equally important for us is to understand that the NAM movement was also during the same time. So, countries like Brazil, India, and many others, in Africa, for example, they joined the NAM bloc, the Non-Aligned Movement bloc. So they said that we are neither siding with Russia, China, or we are neither siding with the U.S. and European bloc. We are non-aligned. We are not aligned to any country. So we want to establish a system whereby people feel that we are independent to take decision.
Mhm.
So yeah, the thing was that uh, following the establishment of PRC in October 1949, China's ruling Communist Party moved quickly to establish major ties with Soviet Union. Throughout the 1950s, for example, the two countries enjoyed strong ties. But similar to the pattern of tension between China and the other countries, the relationship between the two blocks, not the two blocks, but Russia and China, there was an ideological rift. So one was established on the Lenin's way of looking at things, and the Chinese was the Maoist way of looking at things. Now the difference between China and Russia was that China was more an agricultural society, while Russia was more industrialized. By that time, the 1919s, the the basic thing was that they established a system of industrialization. So there was a difference between the two. So then, I mean, under Deng Xiaoping, China pursued a more pragmatic, less ideological driven foreign policy that enabled detente with Soviet Union. So detente means a stoppage on tensions. The relaxing of tensions led to the 1989 Sino-Soviet summit, in which Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev visited Beijing to meet with Deng and other Chinese leaders. And Chinese leader Jiang Zemin reciprocated with a visit to Moscow in 1991, during which the two countries agreed to resolve a portion of the long-held border dispute. Uh, these
Mhm.
developments
Uh,
culminate. Yeah, yeah.
so when you said that tone, I thought it was between the U.S. and China, or the, the the Eastern Bloc, but you
It
said
was
it is
also between China and Russia. It was also
really.
between China and Russia.
Okay. Maybe I understood wrong, but okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah. So now, as we are talking about from the movement from Cold War One to Cold War Two, Cold War Two was, as it's going on right now, the Russian, and as King was also talking about, how um, China and Russia had a past previously also, of friendship. So similarly now, after 1991 and coming in of new movements like EU, etc., the blocks have rigidified. So, what is really happening is that China and Russia are now moving closer to each other. And
Mhm.
so, what really is happening is, it's a treaty of good neighborliness and friendly cooperation between China and Russia, which was established in 2001. So slowly and gradually, their tensions have reduced, and their friendships, given the Cold War, which has been established by the US against Chinese. Actually, they can't lose on China because China is a country which is doing amazingly economically. So, they have to establish some kind of detente between China and US, for example. So, yeah. So, so the Western Bloc and the Communist Eastern Bloc, which began in the aftermath of Second World War and ended with the dissolution of Soviet Union in 1991, the term Cold War was used because there was no direct fighting. It was just ideological, in nature. So proxy wars were going on, and there was nothing like, like there was no uh, actual war which is taking place between China, Russia, and this, I mean, so space race, for example, espionage, propaganda, all of these things were going together, against the uh, Chinese and the Russian bloc. So, yeah, and basically, so now what's happening is that, Russia has survived the onslaught from the Western Bloc majorly. I mean, seeing the Russia and the Ukraine war, we can see that these Russia and as well as China have, moved much closer now, and like the both the leaders, Xi and Putin, they look so comfortable when they're talking to each other. Their body language is amazing. So I guess they're doing pretty well, and so the Ukraine war, for example, the NATO trying to surround Chinese, the Russian movement is a problem. So that is why it has encouraged China and Russia to move towards each other. And I guess there is a problem with the diplomacy part of the US and EU countries. They have not been able to deal with. Actually, Russia and China have a past. They are civilizational countries, and they have majorly, for example, since the time of Tsar, for example, as uh, King was also talking about, these things have been continuing. So these countries
Mhm.
have been based on civilizations. So yeah, yeah, you can speak, King, now.
Mhm. So you said that I mean, Trump and Putin are getting close. Did you mention that?
Not Trump. I'm talking about Xi and
Oh,
Putin.
Xi and Putin. Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, they are close, and for obvious reasons because of the geographic, proximity. Um,